There we see the players blitzing it out. It was fast, it was furious, and in the end, it was Andrew Tang that emerged victorious.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. And well, we're into the next round. It's going to be a good one.
It is, because this is the Armageddon Championship Series 2023, the ultimate chess showdown of the year. Remember, there are three qualifying events: the Americas, Asia and Oceania, Europe and Africa, and a very special qualifying stage, Women's Armageddon Week. A total of 8 players are participating in each qualifying event, and there are 32 players in total. 2 players from each region have qualified online, while 6 of the strongest players have received invitations.
And actually 2 of the players that qualified online are playing today. We'll come to that very shortly, but we are broadcasting live from the World Chess Club in Berlin on Unter der Lindenstrasse.
And we are kicking everything off with the America series. During this week, these guys are showing us how it's all done. And Simon, what a lineup we've had.
Fantastic lineup. You can see the 2 online qualifiers there, Jose Martinez and Renato Terry. Unfortunately, Ray Robson and Eric Hansen have gone home, but I feel they might be enjoying a bit of Berlin as well at the moment.
Yeah, and when it comes to playing chess, we have to mention one of our partners, the FIDE Online Arena, which hosts rated tournaments and games 24 hours per day. Join the arena and you'll get a FIDE ID, a profile on FIDE.com, and access to pro chess community, as well as official online ratings and titles recognized by the International Chess Federation. So play official games at chessarena.com.
Let's bring up the brackets for today and we can see where everyone stands at this moment in time. Now, today's a very critical round. We're concentrating on the lower bracket, otherwise known as the losers bracket. Bit harsh, but chess is a harsh game. And we have Jose Martinez facing off against Sam Shankland. And in the next match, Leinier Dominguez is playing against Renato Terry. And let's just remind everyone, losers go home today.
It is make or break time, and there we can see the pairings. First up, Jose Martinez, Sam Shankland, followed by Leinier Dominguez against Renato Terry. And well, when it comes to the matchup between Jose Martinez and Sam Shankland, this one is as close as it gets. You know, Jose lost a nail-biter of a match against Andrew Tang yesterday, whereas Sam Shankland, he's been in just magnificent form, really playing well, but he lost to Wesley So in the opening round.
He did indeed. I mean, let's remember that Sam actually kicked out Eric Hansen. He ate the big chief. And a deep dive now into the players. Well, let's start with the very talented Jose Martinez. Grandmaster, only 19 years old. Look at his blitz rating. I would dream of having a rating like that. 27-12. Wild under 18 champion. And he's played so well online, and he's qualified for this tournament online. His opponent is
none other than Sam Shankland. You know, he became a GM at 20 years old, blitz rating of 26.38. He's also been US champion and also Olympic gold winner with the Team USA. And my favorite fact of all, he took part in the TV show Survivor. He was eliminated in the first round. Will he survive today? Well, we will find out.
We have the countdown to when they start playing, and it's only 50 seconds until the first game. The time limit, they get added time for the first 2 games, but if it goes to Armageddon, we all know what happens there. It's guillotine time. Someone is going home very soon. Whoa!
I know.
A little bit excited here.
It is exciting. I'm not sure I like to say Auf Wiedersehen to any of our contestants, but today it is make or break time, and there we see our players getting ready. Sam Shankland, he's known to be a hard worker. He has a very straightforward style, always playing for victory. Just Jose Martinez is a very natural style. You know, he tends to freestyle it in the opening, but he said he's come prepared. 8 seconds until the start of play. The lights are a nice blue color. They're gonna light up. We're gonna see a handshake, and that's it. They're off.
And Jose has the white pieces, and he starts with his normal quiet system. This is a bit like a mix between an English opening, well, it is now an English, a symmetrical variation. You can see Jose castling quickly there, and Sam getting ready to build up in the center of the board. Sam picking a well-known and solid system. Jose's style is really not to get in front of the opponent, not to try to kill the opponent quickly, but to tire him down and use his brilliant talent in the middle game and later on in the game. All pretty well-known stuff. It looks like Sam is incredibly well prepared, as always, Jovanka.
As always, and take a look at his heart rate. There, Sam has got 100, and Jose Martinez 113. And just a reminder that a normal resting heart rate is between 60 and 100. So the rule tends to be the fitter you are, the lower the heart rate. And both players feeling some degree of stress. Now, if we see the heart rate over 120, that means the players are feeling the heat big time. Now, the first thing I want to say about this position is I'm somewhat surprised by the opening, because Martinez tends to open with the king's pawn, and here he's just blitzed out a very quiet queen's pawn opening.
Doesn't surprise me so much, because he knows Sam is one of the best prepared players in the world. I mean, we're talking about heart rates. I mean, I know you do a lot of walking and exercise, Jovanka. I reckon you'd be around the 60 mark. I mean, I'm probably around the 10 mark. Gonna live until like 200-300.
Well, congratulations on being alive, Simon.
Yeah, pure athlete I am. Absolute athlete of chess players. But going back to the position, it seems, well, we can see, I think, very clearly quite equal. The pawn structure is nearly dead symmetrical, and remember, you base the position on two things, the pawn structure and the pieces. Pawn structure equal. Has anyone got better pieces? Well, Jose is slightly better with his bishop placing Sam's knight in what we call a pin. If the black knight moves, the bishop takes the black queen, so I don't think Sam will do that somehow.
No, I don't think he will. I do feel that white is just a touch better, and the reason that I say white is a touch better is precisely because of the placing of the knights. And one thing I was going to say was that black has a tremendous piece sitting on the g7 square. I mean, it hits at the weak d4 pawn, and white has the same inclined. These bishops are on the perfect diagonals. Now the rooks are all connected, and you know, Jose Martinez, he just can't help himself. You know, he likes to push pawns. I've noticed that when it comes to decision making, he will always take the aggressive choice.
Very surprised with the decision we saw earlier, Jose swapping his bishop for black's knight. And I think he's trying to do that because the potential of black's knight was pretty good, but this does give Sam the two bishops. The light square bishop, though, is Sam's bad piece. At the moment, it looks like, well, a bit of cement. So he's trying to get it to a better diagonal. He's now threatening to get the black rook into the position. That can come zooming down if it's Sam's move. Heart rates, pretty even. Remember, the evaluation bar showing who's better is on the side. If it goes vastly in white's favor, white is doing very well. But Jose, only a minute and a half left. Time, very important.
Yeah, and I have to say, I love Sam's last move, you know, relocating the bishop. I think also another threat is to put the bishop on the e4 square and offer a trade. And it's happening here, and it's just simply to say, hey, you know, those light squares around the white king, a little bit weak. And I think Sam's better. Yeah,
I was about to say exactly that, Jovanka. I agree, because very clever maneuver. We said that that bishop that's moved was very bad. So what you do when you have a bad piece, you try to get rid of it. You move it in. And now black is just offering a draw. If they repeat the position 3 times, it's actually a draw already. And I think with the black pieces, Sam, there's no point wasting time. Just go for the draw. He's going for more.
No. Sam, despite what ChatGPT thinks of Sam, Sam does not play for a draw. And rook takes rook. And the reason I say ChatGPT is because ChatGPT is this AI thing, and it tends to make things up. And it made up the fact that Sam was a draw master.
A draw master, wow. Have you ever been called a draw master, Jovanka?
No, never.
Well, I've been called a lot of things in my life, but never a draw master, thankfully. And the reason Sam is playing on, he's thinking that his bishops are giving him an advantage. Look at his bishop on the darker squares. It's again using this idea of a pin. The white knight can't move because white would lose the queen. So Jose is just trying to swap pieces off and try to get a position which takes a lot of the sting out of any danger he may be facing here. I still think it's fairly even, but I would take the black pieces. The one danger I feel though is if it gets very low on time, Jose's going to have the edge. Sam, probably the better player in classical chess, but in this kind of format, Jose's more experienced at blitz chess.
Yeah, absolutely. And big decision for Sam on the board. You know, should he trade rooks? And after this trade, just wreck the white pawn structure there on the king side. And Sam decides absolutely not. He's going to offer a trade of light squared bishops again, maintain the tension.
They're both under a minute as well now, Jovanka, so it's going to get quick, it's going to get fast. You see Jose using his speed there to bang a move on the board, a little pawn move. More exchanges happen, and the white knight can now, can it take the pawn? I don't think so. He just brings his king in because it's getting near the ending. The king is a very good piece in the ending. But can Sam move his queen to the left-hand side now? Where has he moved the queen? He's putting pressure on that knight. Look at the white knight. It can't move. So this is a bit uncomfortable for white. Black has taken that knight, damaging white's pawn structures. Two pawns in front of each other, which will have to occur here, is known as double pawns, and they're weak pawns. Sam must be a little bit better in this ending. Only a tad, though.
I think Sam is going to be actually trying hard to win, but he's dashing in with his king to the middle of the board. I mean, I have to say, I hate white's pawns there on the right side. If the black king could make its way over to that side, I think it would have a great shot at munching away at them. But the white king holding the fort.
Munching pawns, always a good thing to do in the ending, but don't actually grab them and put in your mouth. A warning there, you'll get in trouble with the arbiter. I think this should be holdable. I still think that Jose's doing okay. If you look at the pawns in the middle of the board, very important in these endings. The pawn, black's pawn is on a light square. White has a light square bishop, so white can attack that pawn. Black can't attack white's pawn in the middle. But look at that, the king's come in, Jovanka. Great play from Sam.
It does come in, but unfortunately, white's king is also blockading the path. And if you take a look at the left-hand side, the evaluation bar is telling us it is even. There is nothing in it. The position is technically a draw.
Yeah, this is like a fortress situation. You want to try to get your king into your opponent's position, infiltrate like a little assassin, infiltrate straight in, but you can't. The black king trying every way to get in, but it can't find a way into the situation. You know, so they've agreed a draw. A solid start to the day, Jovanka.
Yeah, definitely. A well-fought game, and both players getting ready for game two. So whoever wins in game two will go through. Whoever loses is gonna go home. Brutal.
Yeah, I think the quality of that game was exceptionally high. It seemed like Jose, he played a rather timid opening. Sam was right on point there. He had it covered. There you go, the draw. And that will lead us shortly to the second game. Did Sam have any chances to win? I don't think it was quite enough. It's one thing getting a tiny little edge, but you need to convert that into a big edge, a big win. And this is the first interesting moment where white now uses his bishop, I think, to take that knight off. I thought this was maybe a little bit controversial.
Definitely a controversial decision, just to abandon the bishop pair and just trade off one of your best pieces. But I have to say, it was a very well thought out draw. Both sides very solid. And here we see another decision. And Sam decides to pin the white knight and potentially wreck the kingside pawns.
It was Sam who was clearly playing for the win because he turned down the repetition of moves, which would have been a rather boring draw. We don't want to see draws. Draws are boring, Jovanka. We want to see blood, guts, crying, tears, laughing on the board.
We want to see everything. And here comes the final battle in the endgame, where we see Sam Shankland try everything he can to try to infiltrate the king through, but there is just no way. Jose is blocking absolutely everything.
Yeah, Sam tried everything he could, moving the king as far up the board, but then when he realized it can't go any further, he came back and they agreed a draw. So that leads us to the second game of the day for these two players. And let's remind you, if either player wins, they're through, but the tension is now very high, because if you lose, get on your bike and go home. And it's not nice going home. It's not nice getting knocked out of anything. So it's going to be a really tense game. Sam has the slight advantage, I would say, because he has the white pieces, Jovanka.
Yeah, he has the white pieces. He is able to set the pace of the game. And we know that Sam is so well prepared. He has cooked up lots of opening novelties, new ideas, and he is going to surprise Jose Martinez. Martinez has to be, flexible. He has to be prepared. And there we are, seconds down. Sam checking his wristwatch.
And his nose.
He's got a good nose for things. Shake hands. And they are off. And Sam opening with the queen's pawn. And he's playing his course, basically. He recommends this particular variation. What is Martinez going to play? Is he going to play solidly and strike out in the center with a pawn? Is he going to give a check with a bishop? He plays the Queen's Gambit declined, one of the most solid variations that you can face.
Well, we all know about the Queen's Gambit after the amazing Netflix series, and we have it on the board. This is really a bit of a battle between a very hard worker, Sam Shankland, and a talent, pure talent, Jose Martinez. I'm not saying Sam doesn't have talent, but with the white pieces, he should be getting an edge out of the opening. This is his strength. He works so tough, and I do prefer white's position. Black hasn't played one of the main variations, so I think if Sam just plays very sensible moves, which he's doing, he's getting rook to a good square. He'll want to get castled very shortly. He should get something small, a small edge here. A little exchange of pawns in the middle there, Jovanka.
Yeah, definitely. And we see the situation clarify somewhat. And everything is going to hinge on whether black can actually develop the light squared bishop. If it can find its role for this piece, then black will have equalized. Until that moment, the heat is on black. Black will be feeling that
Come on, let's hear you sing it.
The heat is on.
Much better voice than mine.
I can't believe you made me do that. Anyway, we see a trade of dark squared bishops. Sam, what are you going to do? He decides to swap off the bishop and jump in with the knight to the center. Oh, Sam going aggressive. Will he follow through with the f-pawn and throw those pawns forward? Could be. Taking a look at the heart rate, we can see that Sam is at a steady 91, whereas Martinez 108.
I really like what Sam's doing here. If you've been following the show, well done, you should have been. If you haven't, what have you been doing? But if you've been following, you would have seen this strategy used in many games. This white knight coming into the middle, supported by the pawns. The pawns move diagonally and they secure that knight. The queen now comes in, and I very much like Sam's position. The evaluation bar only giving Sam a very small edge, but from experience, I know if white starts attacking against the black king on that area of the board, maybe by moving the pawn in front of white's king, he can really get a dangerous attack going. We have another exchange in the middle. Sam must be very happy with the way things are going so far, and his heart rate pretty chilled there.
Yeah, totally chilled. And we have to mention as well that Sam is very fit. He trains hard on his chess, but he also trains hard physically as well. He does calisthenics, he does weights, and this does reflect on the heart rate. And Martinez, he's such a tricky player. First of all, he puts pressure on white's only weak point, the d4 pawn, and now he sets about maneuvering his knight, getting ready to move it to e6 to attack that pawn even further.
Well, this is a bit worrying for Sam. He's playing the moves that I was thinking he should play. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but I do like this move. It's restricting that black knight next to the king, making sure it can't come out. So black moves his bishop, connecting his rooks. Not a bad idea. Will Sam go super aggressive and push that pawn in front of his king? No, he's picking a much more sensible build-up by just moving the rook.
Give it time, Simon. He's going to do that first, and then once those rooks are doubled, Now the pawn storm will come. Okay, so I really do like what Martinez is doing. You know, he says, I have one bad piece, let's trade it off. This is great strategy. But when we look at the clock times, we can see Sam has a comfortable lead. And Sam, you know, he's such a straight shooting player. You know, now he's gonna trade, just get his rook to the third row. Perhaps we're gonna see a rook lift over to the king side to attack the black king.
I don't like it as much for Sam. I think this has gone a little bit wrong. I think he's gone a little bit too patient. The reason I don't like this is when you start moving your pawns in front of your king and that white pawn in front of the queen has gone, way off to space we go. You create weaknesses. Pawns can't move backwards, so they can't cover squares. And look at those black knights. There's a beautiful square right in the middle of the board, and Jose showing his talent by maneuvering a knight into that square. And Sam, positionally speaking, has to be quite careful here. He could be worse if he doesn't do something a little bit drastic, I feel.
Yeah, I feel that Sam has kind of basically committed himself to attacking with pieces, and look at that knight. You mentioned it. It's like the horseman of the apocalypse, like planted itself there, and you know it's bad news. So, I mean, you can't get rid of it, unfortunately. And did you catch that eyeball?
They love their eyeballing, don't they? I love this. Whenever Jose plays a good move, he's like, yep, look at me, son. I've got, yeah, I know I played a good move. I'm the star of the show. Well, Sam is trying to swap off one knight, because what he's got to do positionally is get rid of black's knight in the middle. So he needs to get rid of that knight up, and his last move seems to be a very good way of doing that. But the clock time is going to be critical. They're getting to that stage where they're under a minute.
Move his queen and take a look at that white king. It's on an exposed diagonal, which does mean that the queen can come and give a check. And I'm very afraid for Sam, because once the queen comes and delivers check, the knight can spring into f4. I mean, it's so many pieces. There it comes. The king has to take a step back. I don't think I would be able to resist it. I would jump in with my knight to f4, attack a rook.
Yeah,
26 seconds.
26 seconds. This is one thing in Sam's favor, his time situation. It's very hard to find the right moves with under 20 seconds on the clock. You can see the clock times there, Jovanka. And now pieces are getting exchanged. I get the feeling that White should be a little bit more happy, but he's not out of all troubles quite yet.
But what's stopping White from just simply capturing the knight and just drawing, winning the pawn? Okay, and it's happening. Clarify the situation. Take the match to
Chopsville. Everything gets
yeah, I call it the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
and it's coming.
They're all getting swapped off here. And if anything, I do prefer Black's position because his king is a little safer. And what I mean by that is, remember that pawn that moved forwards in front of White's king by the queens? Well, that exposes the white king. The white king, it's never good to expose yourself. And the white rook now comes back. But I definitely feel Black now has still has that pressure.
I agree. I mean, there's a big trick on the board. You could not block that check with the queen because, okay, and Swapsville is happening. He's offering a trade of rooks. Sam doesn't have much time. He has to take a decision and he decides to just curl up in a ball, hold everything tight. This is good strategy.
Yeah, we have a pure ending here, and it very likely will be a draw. I love this move from Sam. He's trying to get through to the black king. That pawn was a weakness anyway, but if anyone's better, of course, it's Black. Black is now a pawn up. He's a whole pawn up, but okay, the pawn goes back, and that's another great move from Sam. They're coming quick and fast now. I think Jose's only got seconds left. Should be a draw, I feel, but anything can happen with such little time on the clock here. Are they going to repeat? Are they going to have a draw here? If they have a draw, that means they just go backwards and forwards with the same pieces.
I'm not sure they're going to draw. I think Martinez is just simply making moves just to build time on the clock so that he can figure out a way to improve his pieces, because take a look at White's f6 pawn. That could be a vulnerability.
Well, there's a check. They could have got a check there and
the king is going to come up.
Change queens there. I mean, this is okay, but you're not going to checkmate your opponent's king just with queens on the board. But I think Jose might have missed a great opportunity maybe it didn't work, actually. He can do it again here. Doesn't quite work. He's pushing forwards with his pawn, Jovanka there.
And Sam has to be so careful now. Every decision could be critical.
Sam fighting for the draw at the moment. The white king is getting chased a little bit around the board, but the black king is also somewhat exposed. I still think there should be a draw. So the black king is maybe trying to maneuver its way out of trouble here, trying to get into the middle of the board. Another thing so important in queen endings, where is your queen placed? If you have your queen in the middle of the board, as Jose does, the queen dominates. It dominates left, right, forwards, backwards. So that is another advantage that black has here. I still think a draw is likely, but he's really pushing Jose.
He certainly is, and giving a few checks, and now he's going to, well, he's going to improve his queen a little bit more, and he's just waiting until the right time to bring in the king. Sam still, and we see a trade of pawns.
Well, I think that trade of pawns means that a draw is so likely. The more pawns that get exchanged, the more likely a draw. I mean, okay, I just don't see how you can possibly win this position now. They can dance around, which they're doing, and they've been dancing around for a while now. The only way you can try to win this position is getting your king right up the board, but that comes with risk as well. I think they're going to repeat. I think it's going to...
Armageddon!
Yeah, we've had Armageddon every single day, haven't we, Jovanka?
Yeah.
Another draw there. They're on 1-1. Let's just remind everyone, the score now, it's Armageddon, yeah.
It's Armageddon. The match is tied. Nothing separates the two until Armageddon, where we will see a winner. And here we go. Simon, I feel the need.
For some
need
speed.
for speed. Come on, give me a fist pump. Yeah. It's our favourite part of the day.
Be careful, I don't want to take your wrist out there.
And here we see how the game developed. We saw the pieces exchange off, and I felt like Sam put pressure on Jose Martinez, but somehow it just wasn't quite enough.
Jose defended really, really well there, and we saw at the end even Jose taking a bit of an advantage and putting pressure back on Sam. I think both players defended well. I think the draw's a fair result. And Armageddon, well, I'm going to have to put Jose as slight favourite because he's very good at these tense, quick moments. Around about here, just before, Jose's got his knight into the middle, and he's definitely got a better position. I think Sam could have attacked with a little bit more urgency. And Jovanka, we both said here that white could be in trouble, and all credit to Sam for holding off the attack in what was a very scary looking position.
It certainly was very scary, and I do feel that the clock played a big part in this game, because both players, they had the opportunity to apply pressure, but somehow the fast pace just meant that they took cautious decisions, and a draw was the fair result.
That's right. Draw looked like a very fair result there, and well, here comes the countdown. Countdown to Armageddon, only on the chessboard, fortunately. And well, this is where it gets fast. This is where it's quick. This is where one mistake will lose you, get you kicked out, and it's a bit depressing when you have to go home when there's a lot of money on the line here, and there's a lot of money just for one game of chess. Such high tension.
I know, and we should remind everyone at home, what are the rules of Armageddon? White will have 5 minutes on the clock, but needs to win in order to go through to the next stage. Black will have 4 minutes on the clock, but has draw odds. And this is the critical point. There is no increments per move. What you see is what you get, and there the stage is set for some fast, furious, and unpredictable action.
2 seconds, and they're going to shake hands and start this. And remember, they do not get any extra time. We have another English opening, the symmetrical variation. They're following the same kind of position they got in the first game. I don't see any reason why Sam should change his strategy. It seemed to work pretty well. So white is changing his strategy first. This little pawn move is aimed to gain space on that area of the board. He wants to support the pawn next to it going forwards. And here it goes. And this is a very dangerous line. I know about this line. And anything that surprises Sam in the opening is a good strategy because he's so well prepared. Sam doesn't want to accept that pawn. It was a sacrifice, and he tries to keep his position solid. A wise choice.
I agree. I mean, Black just needs to draw in order to survive and just remain in the competition. I think it's a good idea not to accept any sacrifices. Don't sharpen up the position. But here,
this is a very risky move. Look at White's bishop in front of the king. We call this a fianchettoed bishop. It's pointing towards Black's rook. And White can push the pawn forwards to attack that knight. Okay, he's putting pressure on the knight in a different way. And there's a little bit of temporary pressure here that Sam's got to deal with. And it seems like, okay, nothing too scary. Both sides go back to developing their pieces in a standard fashion. Fairly even start so far.
Yeah. But there's so much tension in the position. I mean, not a single piece has been traded off, and that means that this favors the side that needs to win because they can keep just piling on the pressure, piling on the heat until someone cracks. And, well, Jose just simply solidifying his pawn structure. And still there is this unpleasant pressure along that long light square diagonal.
Yeah, I expect the only reason you could say White has a bit of an advantage is because of his space on the left-hand side. Now he's trying to gain a little bit more security in the center. You can see White has advanced more than Black with his pawns. That little move may look strange, but he's opening up his rook on the left-hand side, and they're both kind of shadow boxing at this moment. Not too much happening until later on.
Yeah, did you just see what Sam played? You know, he just threatened something aggressive there on the king side, pushing the h-pawn up. Maybe that pawn is going to move one square forward, and that is why Jose Martinez drops back his queen, just to keep that connection with the white king. And one thing I want to say about the pieces, take a look at all of the pieces. They're all protected. And overprotection is the name of the game when it comes to modern day chess.
Yeah, you've got to keep your pieces protected. You don't want them to drop off. I like this last move from Sam. Valuation bar, not liking it as much as me, but when you're playing chess, you've got to think of good exchanges, bad exchanges. And the exchange of those bishops we've just seen come off must favor Black. Why should it favor Black? Because the white king becomes better, but now White is doing the same. We've just had an exchange of 3 pieces in quick succession. And can that knight now jump in with a check? We'll find out very soon if the white knight can jump in. And
it does, but it jumps into a menacing square, eyeing up the f7 and h7 point. That knight should be supported. Come on, pick up the h-pawn, and moves it 2 squares. And just to kind of take a note on the clock times, Sam has actually leveled the clock time, which is good news.
Yeah, so they are even. They still got quite a lot of time. When they get under a minute, they've got to start panicking. Sam has his pawns farther advanced now, but White is very, very solid. And he's now going and pushing one of those pawns. We call this a passed pawn. We've seen many games being won in the Armageddon series by getting a pawn to the other end of the board. And this is what Black is trying to do here. He's trying to push that pawn to the other end. White brings that knight back, and I'm really starting to like Black's position. Can he maybe push the other pawn at some point?
Yeah. Give yourself a protected
He's pushed the other pawn.
Yeah, he has, and he's going to give himself the best type of pawn possible, a protected passed pawn. Look at that. That is driving a wedge in White's position. It's this is just bad for
bad for White. Yeah, I mean, again, you evaluate position, pawn structure and pieces. Why has Black got a better pawn structure? Look at that pawn right on the left-hand side, 2 squares from queening. They're picking up the pace now. The only problem Sam has is, well, he's got to just keep the pace up here against Jose. The king comes in. White is blockading that pawn. He needs to break through, but Sam's position, to my eyes, looks very promising at the moment.
Yeah, and both sides in this very tense, close position are just maneuvering the pieces, just biding their time. There's going to be a breakthrough, but I reckon that's going to happen when the time gets critical.
One thing I've noticed that Jose is very, very good at doing is blockading the situation, and he's blockading that black pawn. He's not trying to do anything too aggressive. He realizes that, well, he has to win this one. So actually Sam could use this as a strategy. Sam knows this. There's a lot of my games. Sam is just moving his king backwards and forwards because he's saying to Jose, yeah, my friend, you're not going to get through. What are you going to do? You can't get me. I'm going to just shuffle around. What are you doing, Jose? What are you doing? And look at that king. And he's building up, surely, a bit of time on the clock. They are actually very even. It seems that Jose is just moving the pieces a bit quicker, and it's going to come down to that countdown. But Sam is not changing his mind. The queens can now get exchanged.
And the queens are off, and now the players are just going to do the same thing. But this time without the queens on the board. The kings just maneuver. I mean, where is the breakthrough? You have to open up a line with a pawn. Where's it happening?
Well, this position should be a draw because it's so blockaded, but let's remember, white has to win. It is the Armageddon game. In Armageddon, white has to win. And the problem that Jose has is he hasn't really got a way to break through, but what he's doing brilliantly is just moving. He's just moving the pieces. Every pause you have counts time on the clock, and Sam is very, very short of time here, getting lower on time as we speak.
And have the players have not repeated the position 3 times. I'm not sure you can claim it. And, well, there's been some progress because the knight has found itself on c4. Is it going to jump in to d6? It is. I would be tempted, actually, to sacrifice the knight. But Sam just says, nope, no need to absolutely change the balance. The rook has to be careful where it moves.
I think the problem is the clock, though, because they're dancing around so much. Things are getting changed up there. I hate it when someone doesn't put the king right in the middle of the square. But Sam's got to wait. White is at least doing something. He's at least opening up the position, but they're now down to so little time. The black knight is just sitting in the middle of the board, and it is now, I think, so just keep an eye on the clock there.
Yeah, certainly. And I think it's time for Sam to mobilize his knight. And there it comes. We have a check.
He's sacrificed.
He's sacrificed.
This is a brilliant position for Sam. Sam is now winning. Those 2 pawns are far too strong, but he's got 36 seconds. He realizes he's winning. He's got to try to move the king in and just queen those pawns. 2 pawns near the king. They're very, very dangerous. Push them. Push them, baby.
But wait one
Push
second.
them.
White also has a passed
Just
pawn.
take the pawn. If the white pawn is pushed, you just capture it. Take that pawn off the board, Sam. Capture it.
No.
Okay, this is also a very good move. Sam is completely winning here, Ivanka. Those pawns are going to queen first of all.
Yeah, but can he do it in the allocated time? Yeah, another pawn comes down, gives a check. It's okay. Sam getting ready with his queen, giving a check, and all he has to do now is just start guarding against white's only trump in the position, the passed pawn.
He's got 14 seconds left. If Sam doesn't lose on time, he will win this game. But it's all down on the clock. Can he checkmate with 10 seconds left on the clock? He should be doing it. The knight and queen are coming in to get to the white king there.
Just give a
check. But he's got to move so quickly. This should be checkmate. In a couple of moves. Next move, checkmate. He hasn't done it yet.
But it's going to happen now, and here it goes. Whew.
Woof. A great win for Sam there with only seconds on his clock, and Sam progresses to the next round. We saw Jose being very depressed there at the end. He's out of the competition. Sam is through.
Yeah, Sam surviving one more round, living on the edge. What an Armageddon game. That was just so tense. I mean, it got a bit crazy towards the end. Oh, I love it when it's like a race against the clock.
I love it.
Will he, won't he? That's the name of the game. It's all about the power and emotion of Armageddon chess.
That's it. I mean, you might have a brilliant position on the board, but you've got to translate that into a win. And this was the first point where Sam started to get a long-term advantage. Normally, your pawn structure gives you that advantage, and you can see the black pawn was actually the deciding factor in the game. That black pawn became the queen. And Jose, well, he tried everything he could, but he had to win this position. A draw was no good, and that meant that he had to take some risks at some point. I was actually worried for Sam here because I thought the speed of his moves were just that little bit slower, but he did a brilliant job. He kept his nerve much better than I would. I think I would have just I wouldn't have been able to handle that kind of tension there at the end of the game.
And there we see the kind of critical moment when Sam decided just to sacrifice his rook for the knight. Here it comes. And this is the critical moment. Rook takes knight. This is the killer blow. The knight comes into the position. And once the d3 pawn drops, black's two passed pawns just decided the game. Ooh, such level-headed stuff from Sam.
Yeah, he kept his cool, and in Armageddon, that is what you need to do. You need to keep your cool. Don't freak out. Very easy to freak out and panic. It's the guy with the stable head that gets through.
And there we see the race against the clock. Will Sam checkmate his opponent with less than 10 seconds on the clock? And the answer was, of course, not a problem. Oy. What an Armageddon finish.
Very, very exciting stuff there. And first of all, congratulations, Sam.
Thank you.
How did you find that?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, I think normally I would think that white is an advantage in Armageddon, but based on how our two blitz games went first, where both of us got absolutely nowhere with white, and probably in both games the only guy who could ever really hope to try was black, and both of us were very solid. It sort of felt like black was nice, and then at some point when we had this totally blocked position that was obviously a dead draw, I was worried that I would flag on move 300 because there's no increment. You can just move back and forth forever, and I can't stop that. But at some point when I realized that was happening, right around the time that I realized that was going to happen, I also realized, wait, if I play a5, I have probably a winning position, and so I decided to just win the game instead.
There were some nice moments there, especially like when the queens were on the board, you were just like shuffling the kings back side to side.
Yeah.
I mean, were you not worried at that point, or was it just...
I mean, I certainly was never worried about my position. I mean, once I got the pawn to c3, like, the only question is whether black can be better. I don't really think so. When his knight's on c2, there's nothing to be done, but like, my only worry was, am I going to flag on move 300 after moving my king back and forth and not having a 50 move claim, because at some point we trade a piece or he plays something. But yeah, I mean, I was pretty solid that game, but just based on the format, I never thought I was safe or anything like that.
Well, you're through now. It must be a bit of a relief as well. Do you feel more relief, or was it kind of a expected result there? We can bring up the bracket here.
No, definitely not. I mean, coming into the match, I knew that even though, like, that I just came in expecting this to be roughly a 50-50 match. I mean, Jose is clearly a specialist in blitz and rapid, and I think in the past, I think his blitz score against me has been sort of good. But I came in expecting this to be 50-50 about, and you know, it certainly, like, the way the games looked, it didn't really look like either of us was really substantially stronger than the other or anything like that.
Yeah. And in your last match, you mentioned that you came with a plan. Did you come with a plan to this game?
Yeah, but he deviated from the plan very early. I didn't spend much time preparing, but you know, of course, I expected him to play e4, which he does almost all the time, and he just never did. And then with white, he dodged what I had in mind. When I was white, he dodged what I had in mind as well. So, but I just came in and played, and I guess it worked out for me today.
Well done, Sam, and good luck with the rest. And very exciting match there. And we can start to get ready for the next match now, which is not too long away.
Thank you. Congrats. And I'd like to mention one of our partners. As a technology and digital privacy company, Kaspersky supports the secure advancement of chess in the digital space and its expansion into online tournaments. It's the perfect combination of human excellence and strong technology.
And yeah, we're going to get ready for the next match now. So we'll shortly find out who is going to play against Sam. We have Leinier Dominguez versus Renato Terry. And on paper, Leinier is the favourite, but Renato is an extremely talented player, and he showed his class. He even played this little 1a3 move. If you remember this from yesterday, this was an outrageous move. He was basically saying to his opponent, I can play anything and win. And of course he lost. But at least he tried.
He did try, and I have to say, Renato Terry is one of our qualifiers via the online competition, and he's actually not a professional player. He's a lawyer by profession, and he's just got a very natural talent for the game, so do not underestimate him.
No, an extremely strong player, and talking about strong players, here is Leinier Dominguez. Five-time Cuba champion, Blitz World champion, a member of the national team of USA, Grandmaster at 18. He's had a lifetime at the highest levels in chess. He's just a class and experienced act.
And his opponent today is going to be none other than international master Renato Terry from Peru. He qualified online. He's a national champion. He's also been a Pan American champion, and also the Armageddon online winner. You know, and check out that blitz rating, 2579. He's so naturally talented.
Certainly, and the match will start very soon. It's quick, it's fast. We don't get time for a breather here in the studio, and neither do the players, but that's the way we like it, really, isn't it? You know, we like it. This speed is good. The countdown has started, and well, it's the way things are going, any result is possible. I don't know if it will be Armageddon again. Would not surprise me at all.
It would not surprise me. And both these players, they're very experienced at Armageddon. They're both very quick. I'm just dying to see what kind of surprises Renato Terry has up his sleeve. Yesterday, like you said, he tried the very unusual 1a3 against Wesley. So what is he going to do today? I mean, he told me Renato Terry told me his preparation in general. He basically looks at his opponent and decides what he's not going to play. So 15 seconds, 13 seconds till the start of play. Both players, they're getting in the zone. They're thinking about their strategies. They're looking at each other. 3, 2, 1. Lights are going to change. Handshake, and they are off.
Now, Dominguez is an incredibly well-prepared player. Well, this is a really risky opening from Renato Terry. Okay, this is a slightly safer version of it, but you give away the center immediately by playing on the side of the board like that. So Dominguez knows the start of the game, the opening, incredibly well. He's built up the center. He's simply developing his pieces in standard fashion. And another rather strange move here, but clearly Black has a game plan here. Take White out of mainline learning, mainline theory, and try to play it in an unorthodox manner to confuse the more experienced player.
Yeah, and I think he certainly will have succeeded here, because we have to remember Leinier Dominguez is not just an elite player, he's also a well-renowned second. You know, he's been second for Caruana. He knows his openings incredibly well. He has it all worked out. And what I like about Leinier Dominguez is that he plays in and he believes in his openings. And he's not one of these guys who constantly switch things up, and he simply just maneuvers his knight to the e2 square. He gets ready to support the center, and he passes the ball back to Renato Terry and says, hey, you've given me the center. How are you going to deal with your crippling lack of space? And just checking out the heart rates, we can see Leinier Dominguez has gone up to 125. Did you see that surge? And Renato Terry has a heart rate of 113. And to remind everyone, a normal heartbeat would be between 60 and 100. The lower it is, the fitter you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow start, as we often see. Valuation bar is pretty even as well here, with White having the better center at this moment in time. But this move I was wondering about, I was wondering if it's playable. They have this symmetrical pawn structure in the middle of the board. The black pawn coming in there, really weird kind of position. I mean, it looks like White should have some good move here because Black hasn't quite castled, but if not, it could just be lots of exchanges, equality. Okay, White makes the first exchange there, taking that pawn in the middle.
I like it. And Leinier just reacting in a very calm and steady way. big question as well for Renato. He captures with the pawn and he just simply gets on with maneuvering his knight to the g3 square. I'm expecting also white to just push the c-pawn one square forward, just grab some space and get ready to develop the dark squared bishop.
Yeah, so pretty solid start. I mean, we don't have a symmetrical position anymore. It's going to come down, though, I feel, to who's got the better pieces. They're both quite even on time. The heart rates, since the first couple of rounds, it seems they're much more nervous. Everyone had much higher heart rates. They've chilled out to this format a little bit. Maybe they should practice this format by going to the fairground, getting on a spinning wheel, you know, one of those ones on horses, and playing some chess with the bright lights going. I think that would be perfect practice for the Armageddon tournament. And they're just bringing their pieces out in standard fashion at the moment.
Yeah, and I do really like the speed of Renato Terry. I mean, one of his comments that he made yesterday in his match against Wesley So was that he felt he lost not because of the chess skill, but actually because of the use of time. He felt that he took too long in his decision making, and here he's playing quickly, he's playing fast, he's putting Leinier Dominguez under a lot of pressure.
I actually feel that Black will be quite happy with the way the opening's gone. He's played this unorthodox style, a kind of opening that Dominguez could not have expected, and he's got his rooks connected, he's got all of his pieces developed now, the knights and bishops are out. I mean, I don't think he's better here, but I think he'll be reasonably happy at least.
I think he will be very happy. I mean, after all, I don't think Black has a single bad piece. The only question is, like, how is Black going to continue? But, you know, that situation can be dealt with on a later stage. And we see the rooks come into the center, and here it comes. Leinier is grabbing space, pushing the pawn up to a4. It's probably going to advance one square further, and just to cement those pawns there on the left.
One thing that has worried me so far about Dominguez's play, he is one of the older players in the field, and he seems to be a little bit more, maybe not nervous, but slightly slower when the time gets very, very low. Clearly, that's not a major problem because he's been a world blitz champion before, but it's getting to the 1 minute stage. Are we going to see a bit of shaking?
Ooh.
Are we going to see the table rock, Jovanka?
We're seeing the heartbeat increase. And, you know, I have to say, like, a general rule of thumb I have is that once the players hit that 1 minute mark, well, the heat is on, the pressure starts taking over, and this is where the fog starts descending, and you can just be at risk of just losing your mind.
So far, again, they're just building up to this quicker finish. Renato Terry under a minute, so is Dominguez now. They're maneuvering their pieces around. That white knight is getting ready to jump forwards and attack the black queen. That's a lovely maneuver from Dominguez, who is using maybe his experience to try and get an advantage in this position. Renato's got to move soon.
He's got to move. But that's such an unpleasant move. I mean, is he going to retreat his queen? Where are you going to put it? Yeah, I mean, I would be tempted to put the queen on the g7 square, but that's like ugly.
He's frozen.
Yeah, he has frozen under 30 seconds. Instead, he decides to deprive the knight of the g4 square. But whoa, this does concede the g5 square, and there you go. Each move has its consequences, and the knight now headed on to the g5 square.
And the maneuvers are coming around. Okay, Renato has to move though quickly. You can see the time problem there. He's really, really short of time. And this is gonna get very exciting now. Dominguez securing a square for his knight or his bishop, and Black just trying to make some exchanges there. I still prefer White's position quite a lot, but they're still moving at the same pace. Do they know their time is going down? Well, someone told them, okay, they've got to speed up. Okay, they are speeding up now, and Black trying to exchange queens. I like this idea. Very nice move from Black.
It is a lovely instinctive move. You know, when you're in trouble, it's always a good idea to trade off queens. And now the pressure is on Dominguez. He doesn't have so much time. He's now under 20 seconds. Does he trade queens? I would keep the queens on just for fun.
Well, this is where I get quite nervous for Dominguez, because he doesn't pick up the pace as much as I think he should do at this part of the game. On the other hand, Black banging out the moves with confidence. They're both so short of time, increasing pressure on the center of the board there with that last knight move, the knight coming in. But look, Dominguez, move, my friend, move,
5, 4,
move.
Ooh,
Okay.
making that move with seconds to spare. He trades off pieces. Now, watch for these type of moves. When you are feeling the pressure, it's very common to actually just simplify the position and
What's
see.
happened here? Many exchanges. Renato has won a very important pawn. Now Black is in 1 second left there. Unbelievable. 7 seconds for Dominguez. He wins a pawn back. They're both equal on material. What is happening? Just keep an eye on the clock. The rooks are getting exchanged. It's very tense here. I prefer Black's position, but it's going to come down to the clock. Can one of them keep their nerve better than the other one? Only knights left, Jovanka.
I know, and it's so complicated. And we're seeing a race of pawns. I mean, who can use their weaknesses better? And I'm expecting the king just to mobilize. Everything is centralized, and we see the panic from Renato Terry. But
You got to move.
7, 5.
And you saw them both do up their sleeve there. Clearly, they realise this is very critical. Knights are so tricky. Knights jump around, they confuse, they go left, right, forwards, and it's so hard just to know where they're going to go. Is Black trying to get a draw here? Okay, will Dominguez play for a win? I think he should take the draw.
I think he should.
If he can, 2 seconds. He only moved with split seconds on the clock. He's just moving his king back because of forwards, trying to keep it safe. And just keep an eye on that time. It just seems that Black's a little bit more confident here at the moment in time.
And there we see the G-pawn advance. I think that was a slight inaccuracy from Renato Terry, but the players are just moving instinctively. The king is working its way to G3. Can it go any further? I mean, I would be tempted just to push some pawns. You've got to make a move quickly.
Okay, well, it's now changed the situation. Black's won a pawn on one side, White's won a pawn on the other. Who's got the more dangerous pawns? It must be Dominguez. Dominguez's pawns don't have anything in their way, so they can just move down the board and try to become a queen. But he seems to be slightly slower. Black's knights working their way over there. I don't know what he can do. He's got to move. He's got to move.
And the players just play so carefully. Oh my, not carefully is the opposite word I wanted to say. They're just instinctively making the moves. The B7 pawn has fallen off. Now the A6 pawn. Will the A pawn march to its destination? I think it will.
Such a confusing position just with knights on.
3.
But it is White who has the more dangerous pawns here, and he has an extra pawn. So Black has sacrificed one of his knights for the pawn. Now the way he can try to draw this, Black, is get rid of that last pawn. If it comes down to 2 white knights versus the king with nothing else on the board, the game is a draw. Can he get rid of this last pawn? If he can get rid of the last pawn, it will be a draw.
I'm not sure
He's got to move. Dominguez can still lose if he loses on time.
And now he's going to throw in a check.
It looks to me like White should be winning this. Has he got enough time to win, though? That is the big question. Push the pawn. He has. He's pushed the pawn. That pawn looking like it might become a queen very soon.
Back.
And will it become a queen? This must now be winning for Dominguez. He's got to get his king into the game. He does. The king comes forwards. Keep pushing the king. It's so tense here at the moment. Okay. Oh, no. He's going to take the last pawn. He's taken the last pawn, and it's now a draw. A drawn game. Very good chances for Dominguez there to win that one. All he had to do was keep that last pawn. I say all he had to do. It was much harder than it looked. Knight's so tricky, and the Black Knight just took it off, and it was a draw, Jovanka.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Knights are crafty pieces, but I thought it was very sporting of Leinier Dominguez actually to give Renato Terry a draw at the end, because he could have tried just, you know, test Renato Terry's technique.
Yeah, he could have certainly pushed a little bit there. If you've got 2 knights, you can't lose. Even if you lose on time, it's going to be a draw because your opponent has no material. So he could have tried a little bit to push at the end. And one thing I get from Dominguez, he's a real gentleman. Now, things started to get very exciting around this point of the game. We saw that Dominguez did win a pawn at some point around here. Well, actually, he's a pawn down, so he had to get his pawn back. And it really came down to the clock and those knights. Those knights were so hard to calculate what they were doing, wasn't it? Really hard stuff.
I mean, both players just playing on the brink with their backs against the wall, playing no time instinctively. It wasn't about calculation, it was just about moving the pieces and just hoping for the best.
And we saw here that Dominguez got a good advantage because it's equal on material, but who has the more dangerous pawns that are more likely to become a queen? In the ending, this is a key point to remember. If your pawns are more dangerous, if they're more likely to become a queen, then you normally have the better edge. And Jovanka, I thought White was going to win this one here.
I thought so too, but you can just feel the panic in the air, and somehow or other, Renato Terry, with his two pieces, manages to do the impossible. And here it comes. Here comes the check. And once the king moves, the knight takes the pawn and sacrifices itself, and we get into a position which is completely drawn. And Leinier sportingly does grant the draw, and we are 50 seconds away from the second game. It is make or break time. Renato Terry will play with the white pieces. We know that his strength is not in the openings, so he's always looking to launch that first surprise.
That's right, and it is that advantage having whites. I don't think he's going to put too much pressure on Dominguez at the start of the game. I mean, this could be, I think it'd be the first day with double Armageddon if it goes to another draw. But if either player, just to remind you, wins this game, they go through and they knock out their opponent. I mean, every time I see Dominguez, it goes down to like under 10 seconds. The guy is a speed addict. He loves it. He loves the speed.
I think he's an accidental speed addict, as you say, Simon. And the clock has ticked down, the lights have changed, the handshake has been made, and the players are off, and we see an opening called the Trompowsky. Oh, what is happening here? I think the players forgot to start the clock.
Yeah, it's a good idea to start the clock, otherwise it's not really Armageddon, it's more Slowageddon. So they're going to maybe restart. Mr. Trompowsky, I would imagine. Never met the chap, but I'd imagine it was named after Trompowsky. It's amazing how many different openings there are in chess. There's something like 1,600 openings. Obviously, me and Jovanka know the name of every single one. We've memorized every opening to about move 50. That's why we're here talking our stuff.
Yeah.
But Dominguez plays a bit of a rare move, and I think it should be evaluated as pretty even, this position. But that's the way that Renato plays. He just likes getting into the game, he likes getting out of main line theory, and he likes just using that speed and talent to put pressure on his opponent. A reminder though, if either side wins, they go through to the next round. What are the Dominguez's heart rate? That last game must have terrified him a little bit.
It certainly has. I mean, the adrenaline is still pumping through his system. He has only had 20 seconds just to kind of reset. It's very difficult to do that. And Renato's last move, you know, retreating the bishop to the f4 square, that's somewhat surprising. I do think Leinier will be very comfortable with his position. After all, his light square bishop has developed outside of his pawn chain, and I would be just tempted just to drop the bishop back and offer a trade of bishops.
Yeah, Dominguez's strategy throughout this competition has to be to play very, very solid moves. Play solid, good moves. Don't take too many risks. And it's worked so far, apart from when he lost, of course. But now, a bit of a coughing there. I'm glad he turned away. Never nice to cough over your opponent. You know, there have been some strange strategies used in chess matches in the past. There was a famous incident, Karpov versus Korchnoi, where they were kicking each other under the table. Have you ever tried to kick your opponent, Ivanka?
I have. When I was like
You
6
kicked your opponent?
Yeah, well, but wait.
Okay.
When I was 6 years old.
You actually kicked your opponent?
I did.
That's not very nice.
I got told off many times, but it was just because I was very fidgety. And I haven't yet hired a hypnotist, though.
No, that was another thing from that very famous World Championship match where one of the players, I think it was Karpov, hired a hypnotist to sit in the first row to stare at Korchnoi and try to put him off his game. I love these old stories from chess matches. They're fascinating. Back to the game now. It's still building up. Dominguez heart rate 130. Keep an eye on the valuation bar. It's in the middle. And it normally stays in the middle until much later on in the game. And can you remember who you kicked, Ivanka?
A fellow child.
A fellow child, okay. Hang on, so you're admitting to kicking a child?
No, I was a child.
Yeah, but you still kicked a child.
Yeah. But...
Yeah, okay. So you kicked a child. Ivanka has said it live on air. She kicked a child. Now, let's... Sorry. I'm only joking. Of course, the child deserved it. So, back to the game, I think.
Be careful what you say. Okay, so there we see Renato actually castle his king. And taking a look at the clock times, we see that Renato Terry under a minute. And you have to remember, he was feeling very uncomfortable in his match against Wesley So yesterday because he took too long. And for Leinier Dominguez, he has all the time in the world. He's advancing his A pawn, maximizing everything he can on that side of the board. Now we see pawn takes pawn. I'm expecting the B pawn to kick away. And look at that space that Leinier controls there on the right side. He wants it all, now he wants to trade off light square bishops, pawn takes. He's doing everything right. Queen moves to b7. Now the rooks are actually going to support the c pawn. It's actually very difficult to come up with an active plan for white.
Yeah, Dominguez's style is to just build up nice and slowly like this and not loosen his position, not give any chances to the opponent. The time here is, again, this important factor. And let's remind everyone that the first game was a draw. So if either side wins this game, they go through and the other player goes out. They go home. If this game is a draw, we get...
Armageddon!
I mean, looking at the position here, Ivanka, I'm actually thinking that I prefer White's position because Black has one weak pawn and White has a little bit of pressure against it. Maybe nothing too serious.
I kind of like Black's position just because I'm thinking of the future. I'm thinking if you can just pick up that knight on d7, transport it over to c4. Oh, look at that. Leinier and we're channeling the same thought. I don't know whether I should be worried for Leinier, but now the knight will come to c4 and start looking at the b2 pawn. Just sit on the space and again ask White, what are you going to do?
Yes, time, so important. Leinier still moving quite slowly, but he's up on time. And that last move from White. White also has ideas with his knight. He's trying to move his knight into a better square. You can see the difference in body sort of language there. Leinier just really composed. On the other hand, the adrenaline is running through Terry's body there. The knight does jump in, as you said, Ivanka. Will that knight be able to stay there? I'm not sure, because it's not a complete outpost where the black knight is, because White can kick it, not like under the table, but kick it with a pawn. Just move the pawn forwards and give that knight a little boot. White's looking a bit more confident, and are they both down to 30 seconds? 30 seconds now.
Both of them hovering around the 30-second mark, and this is not good news. You need to speed up.
Yeah, this is where you need to just change the pace. You can't keep playing at the same pace and spending... Okay, he kicks the knight away, and the knight now retreats. Black's pawns are very far up the board, but I don't mind White's position. White's knight is also ready to jump in, fairly even at the moment, I feel.
I do feel it's fairly even, but it's too even. I think it's very double-edged. You know, White's knight's beautifully placed, and it's not very easy to see how Black is actually going to make an inroad with those two pawns.
That's a beautiful move there
love
from
it.
White. White goes in with the bishop. Now, if the bishop is exchanged, White's knight comes in and forks the queen and the rook. And look at this, White making good progress. The rook coming in. It looks to me like White is doing a really good job.
7 seconds, and did you see Dominguez shaking there?
Dominguez in serious trouble here. His queen's got to go back, and White just keeps coming forwards and forwards. He has those rooks on this lovely file. Positionally speaking, White has a big advantage. On the clock, White has an advantage. White has all the edge, but Dominguez now increasing the pace, kicking that queen away, and the queen comes in. Just keep an eye on the clock there. It's going to be close. Black trying to exchange rooks, and I think they're just moving now. Dominguez has half the time of his opponent, so White still in the driver's seat. Are we going to see an Armageddon, or is it going to be a decisive result, Ivanka?
At the minute, it's looking like it's a decisive result, and Dominguez protecting the B pawn for all it's worth. The queen just moves. Renato playing very tricky moves. Leinier making his move, advancing the A pawn. Queen just moves. Both players just shuffling the pieces, trying to build up the time. Oh, Dominguez, no time on the clock.
And I love this next move. That White knight is trying to find a better square. There is a tactic here. If the queens get exchanged, then Black can sacrifice the knight at some point, which will actually be winning for Black. I think Dominguez is pulling this around on the clock and on the board. Did he not touch that with his pawn?
He touched it.
He's got to play touch a piece, move a piece. That is a rule in chess. And if you touch a piece, you have to move the piece that you touch. Dominguez moves his knight back to attack the pawn. Dominguez taking control, and he moved with just barely seconds on the clock. 5 seconds left. The queen comes in with a check. Is he going to get a draw?
No.
Petrol. Seconds left though, Ivanka, now on the clock. The knight comes Black. Black is a pawn up. White just trying to use his queen to cause some hassle to the Black king, but White's pieces, they move in towards Black's king. 4 seconds now. Black clearly doing well. Can he keep his cool? White opening up position. Black trying to get the queens off the board, and the queens are off. That is only going to help Dominguez.
And now we're going to see a trade of knights here. If he wants to hold on, but look at that White's position. I mean, Black's pawns are so good. Look at that, rook comes into c2. The A pawn is going to fall, so does the B pawn. And the A3 pawn, 2 squares away from queening. Another pawn drops off. I mean, is this enough to win? It's very difficult.
It feels to me like this should be a draw with perfect play from White, but they're both using their kings, and you can see the White king is going to get a beautiful square in the middle of the board here. I mean, I expect Armageddon to be really likely, and now Dominguez is basically saying, okay, I'm going to give that pawn back to make sure I don't lose this game. It should be a draw now. White has the more compact pawn structure. Black has double pawns. You see those pawns in front of each other, and that makes the position a little bit hard. White still playing for a win. He's still trying everything to win this game. The White king now coming around. It's a little bit tricky for Dominguez, but of course it should be a draw, Ivanka.
I think it should be a draw, but take a look at those improvements that Renato is making to the position. You know, he's playing so quickly. Now the White king comes in. It's not easy. I think it was a bad decision for Leinier to actually just give back the pawn.
Yeah, I mean, Leinier was, if anything, better, and he thought he'd get an easy draw by playing like this, and it probably is a draw, but he's got to defend a little bit here. Armageddon most likely, and let's just remind everyone, it is now, again, a draw in the first match they had. Either side wins this, they go through, and it could be Armageddon, though, if it's not the case. Black has got his king to the center. That must be a good thing. Can he now swap the rooks off? He just retreats. White making more progress, though.
Yeah, he's certainly making more progress, both on the position and on the clock. But Leinier has found a fortress. He's cut the White king off, and this should be enough to guarantee the draw.
Yeah, the problem that White has is that there's a force field with the Black rook. The Black rook on the open line is just making sure the White king cannot do anything that good. It can't come forwards, it can't attack the pawns, but Leinier's shaking there a little bit, and the position has changed. I'm not sure why he did that. That was a horrible idea from Dominguez. Dominguez has allowed the white king to break that force field, and this to me now looks actually quite tough to hold. There might be another exchange of pawns. It should still be a draw, but the white king is just so active in this position.
And Renato and Leinier Dominguez finding an excellent defensive resource, going for the f4 pawn, and Renato is actually going to grab the g5 pawn. But look at that, great technique from the American player. After king takes pawn, I'm expecting the king to step up, attack the rook, and now you have to move the rook.
I was thinking you can move the king to attack black's rook, but it's not going to help. And now, with the pawns been exchanged, I feel a draw offer is not a silly thing to do here. There's hardly any material on the board. Oh, hang a minute. He nearly stumbled there. You might as well play on. You just got to get your king in front of your opponent's pawn, and unless anything amazing happens here, we're going to Armageddon for the second time in a day. There we go. They did agree a draw. And what have we got now, Jovanka?
We have Armageddon.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yes.
Armageddon 2 times in a day. And wow, 1-1 there. And well, we're getting so much action today, Jovanka, in this great event.
And I mean, fasten your seatbelt, Simon, because we are in for a bumpy ride. And now the knight comes back. And in this position, I mean, we saw some trades happening. We saw the indecision, the panic, the clock pressure, everything in. I mean, what a move. Queen takes pawn, pawn takes rook. It's decision time. And it's not very easy to play these positions when you just have no time whatsoever.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing the format of this, because we got to this ending where Dominguez managed to hold it, but Renato Terry, he was really pushing. And the reason that white's better is twofold. His king is more active. The black king is not very good. In the ending, you want to have a good king. And also the pawn structure. Black has these 2 pawns in front of each other, and they get in the way of each other. It's like a traffic jam, a queue to the position. But they're in to the countdown now.
Yeah.
I mean, let's have a little reminder of the rules and Armageddon. Well, do you want to say the rules?
The player with the white pieces will have 5 minutes on the clock, but needs to win in order to get to the next stage. Black will play with just 4 minutes, but gets draw odds. There will be no time increment whatsoever. What you see on the clock is what you get. This is fast, this is furious, this is unpredictable. It will get mean, it will get dirty. Are you feeling lucky, Simon?
I'm always feeling lucky, thankfully, you know, otherwise I'm a bit of an optimist, have to be in life, I feel. I think this is Dominguez's 3rd Armageddon, is that right? 3rd Armageddon. I mean, Dominguez at least has some experience already, you know, that might calm him down a little bit, and I think they're gonna start now. They're off.
And Dominguez playing with the white pieces with 5 minutes in a must-win situation. And Renato Terry using the same approach he took in game 1. And he doesn't really matter. He doesn't care so much about playing with less space. All he wants is a position where he has very easy play. And he's pushed his f-pawn, chipping away at the white center.
Yeah, again, a bit of an unorthodox opening from black. You can see white's pawns in the middle of the board. Look at them. They're like this little mini triangle of, you know, horrible sort of units coming forwards. But the idea that black wants to get from this is play around those pawns. His knights come in just to blockade those pawns. And what black is trying to do is keep the position as blocked as possible. Why does black want to keep it blocked? Just to stop any tactical chances. I really like what Dominguez has done, though. He's captured in a way that I wouldn't have considered, and he might be moving another pawn forward soon, which would be a super aggressive way to play. But first of all, get your knights and bishops developed. That's what he's doing at the moment. I like white. I like the way this has gone for white. I think the reason Dominguez changed is because he wasn't happy about the opening in the last game, but this seems a better version to me.
I agree there, Simon. I mean, for me, this is my dream white position. I mean, it's just all about getting the king to safety and pushing those pawns, kicking that knight away. And I do feel that Renato does have a very difficult position because he has to generate some kind of counterplay. He can see this plan brewing from a mile away. And if he doesn't do anything, he's just simply going to get overrun there on the king side. And that is why you see this type of risky move. I mean, it looks weird, but Leinier does not have so much time to navigate everything, and he just develops his bishop. And what's going to happen next? Are we going to see pawn push on, attack the knight? I imagine the knight is going to drop not drop, but move to the edge of the board. Oh, he moved his knight to e2 square. I wasn't expecting that.
Have a look at the evaluation bar. I mean, this indicates just how good White's position is, and it's zooming up. The computer really liking Dominguez's pawns in the middle of the board. The heart rate, well, they're both much higher than they were earlier, understandably. I think I'd be about 300 by now with my heart rate after going through all that excitement. And just again, a couple other factors that makes this good for White. White has more pieces developed. White has more pawns that can mobilize. And here, that pawn in front of the White king, I would be really considering moving that 2 squares forwards to attack Black's knight. I mean, you've got to win this game. You've got to take risks. First of all, Dominguez connects his rooks, but at some point, surely you move that pawn, Jovanka.
Yeah, I mean, but I have to say, I really do like Leinier's last move. Not only does it connect the rooks, but it also attacks the pawn on b5. And as a certified pawn grabber, I completely approve. And that's why Renato Terry just moves his queen to defend the pawn. And Leinier Dominguez, he is a positional genius. He says, hey, let's open the A line. And that looks devastating, actually.
Well, it's a very clever idea here. If you play pawn takes pawn, maybe b4, pushing the pawn 2 squares forwards is an interesting option, but you don't even need to play that. Just to, yeah, this is really good. Dominguez is dominating on every area of the board. He's dominating in the middle with that pawn further forwards. The king side, he has more chances than Black to expand, and he's now dominating on the left-hand side. A pair of bishops exchanged. Not sure that's going to help Black's position too much. The evaluation bar agreeing, and now the rook comes in. And Dominguez in a great situation on the board and on the clock.
Yeah.
Look at the clock times.
And he, something else that's amazing about Leinier's position is that he has a very straightforward plan. Double the rooks on the A line, just go munching, go pawn hunting, take the pawn on A7, also hunt the pawn on C6, which can't advance very easily. And something you've got in the pocket in all situations is actually to kick back the knight on F5.
Yeah, he hasn't pushed forwards on the king side because he thinks, Dominguez, that he can win this game just by playing on the queen side. Let's remind everyone, this is the Armageddon game. White has to win. If Black is able to defend this rather horrible position, has he really only got 17 seconds? Well, I know he's down on time. Dominguez has a big time advantage. He knows he realizes he's close to going through. His heart rate going up and up as well. What he does, only have 50 seconds left, and you don't get any extra time per move. White has won a pawn as well, Jovanka.
Yeah. To quote Gordon Gekko, greed, for lack of a better word, is good. I mean, just look at this position. The rook is on the dream row of 7th row. The queen is coming in. I mean, you can do whatever you like, and it's all going to be great. Look, there it comes, the move that we've been crying out for such a long time. Kick the knight back to the G7 square, and there's not a single active square that the black pieces can go to.
All the Black's pieces are getting pushed vastly back there. They're cramped. White has more space. White has the extra pawn. White has the better pieces. Black trying to do something with that last pawn move. Also, White has the extra time. And he now threatens to win that knight by moving the queen. The knight has to retreat. He can exchange queens here. The piece, does he realize pieces can go forwards? They're all going backwards. You can move them forwards. A queen exchange. This generally helps the side with the extra pawn. So in this position, the white knights, maybe they can start moving into the structure. It's not all over yet. Renato Terry is defending very well and he's picking up the pace. I'm surprised that Dominguez has slowed down. He doesn't need to slow down. It's quite an easy position to play.
He's excited. Just take a look at the heart rate. I mean, that's telling us a figure that does not lie. You know, his heart rate's up to 152. He feels the win and he's ready to pounce. But you cannot let your emotions get in the way. And the knight doing all sorts of magic.
You can't move a knight like that. That knight, he changed his mind drastically, and black is now getting a little bit of activity, but he has 23 seconds. I know, 30 seconds. If you just play quickly here with the white pieces, then those pawns looking fantastic. This is great position for Dominguez. He'll be kicking himself if he does not qualify from the structure he's got here. He's got 2 pawns farther advanced, he's got extra pawns, he's got extra time, and the only hope I think black's got is to play instantaneous and pray.
Exactly, that is the tagline, watch and pray, and that's exactly what Renato has to do. He somehow just has to hope that Leinier gets overexcited and just misses a shot. And you've got to be very careful when you make your moves before you press the clock. Do make sure they're on the right squares. It's not good sport otherwise. And this move causing a little bit of trouble, but white is now coming through the center of the board. Dominguez still has a minute left at this moment in time, and only seconds, 11 seconds I think, for Renato Terry to finish the game off. 10 seconds, no time added on. Look at his hand. He realizes he's got to move quicker than quick, which is really quick. And white totally in control, and he's just swapping off pieces here. The pawn coming through the middle. The only danger for Dominguez, if he starts freezing, he comes in with a very vicious idea. The pawns are moving forwards, and this is looking horrible. Oops.
Horrible for black, but he's playing so quick.
He is.
Can he do this?
No, he cannot do this.
He's doing it. He's playing so quick, but he's moving the pieces everywhere. Put the pieces on the right squares. Okay, and still 4 seconds versus 17. The kings are coming across, and his position is getting better, but the pieces, where are they? 1 second, and he's down on time. He is down on time. We have a winner, and it is Dominguez. You were right. He couldn't move that quickly. Is there some argument here? There's some argument here. What's happening here? I mean, you can't move the pieces to a square where your opponent can't see them and then claim something. I'm not sure what's happening here.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? Because we just saw Renato Terry just play instinctively, panically, you know, whatever he could to just try to make these moves as quickly as possible. But I agree, I'm a bit baffled as to why he would be complaining.
I'm not sure. I mean, we'll get some more information soon. It looked pretty clear to us that there was a winner, and it was Leinier Dominguez. And I think, again, quite a justified winner, really. He was better, he had more time, he kept his cool, and we expect that Dominguez will be going forward in the competition, and that Renato Terry will, unfortunately, be going home. And, well, look at this. I mean, this... this was just bonkers, and this is what you get in Armageddon. You get it quick, you get it fast, and that knight came in, and this was the decision. So the knight came in with check, and Dominguez played an illegal move, but where is the knight? I would not like to arbit this one. I would not like to arbit this one. So what happened there, and we'll just go through this one more time. Renato Terry, with the black pieces, he moved his knight to check Dominguez. He moved his knight to attack white's king. White did nothing about the check, but played an illegal move. But there has to be an argument here. Where is that black knight? Look at this knight in a second. On the next move, let's have a look at it. That black knight very shortly will come to the middle, so it's a little bit further. Just watch the black knight. Here it comes. Check. But where is that knight? It's not on the right square.
Yikes.
That knight is not checking the king on that square. So I personally, I would say that the knight has to go to the right square, and it's not on that square. But I don't know what the correct decision is for an arbiter. I'm not an arbiter. I'm just a punting commentator who doesn't really know what I'm talking about sometimes.
What a fascinating situation there. I mean, he clearly just put the knight on some random square, but I mean, it was also very clear that it should have been on d4. That's where he was intending to go, but he, nerves and the clock time just meant that he just put it somewhere in that sphere. And then we have the situation that he would, if it's the arbiter rules that he put it on d4, and it is a check, it's a legal move, and he will get extra time on the clock.
Yeah, I don't know the exact rules, but my belief is that this time limit, if you make an illegal move, you might even lose the game, potentially. So that's what they're discussing now. They're discussing what happened right at the end, and we will get an update as soon as we know. And it was so quick. The arbiters making it's going to earn their money here, should we put it that way? And I mean, at home, I don't know what you guys will be thinking of that. I mean, this kind of chess has been happening for years and years, and we have our result through. Dominguez is the winner. That is what I would have decided as an arbiter. I would definitely have gone for a win for Dominguez, because you can't put your piece on a square that's not the right square. And as simple as that. That looks like an illegal move, first of all. So, okay, let's have a look at some of the highlights. And oh my words, this match, all of Dominguez's matches, they're full of tension, they're full of pressure, but he is staying in the competition. Both players, well, their nerves must have been so high. They both had an argument at the end of the game. You can see Renato there shaking his head, and in the end, that is going to be his reaction. He's not going to be happy. And look at the finish. And look at the finish to this exciting match. Dominguez keeping his cool better. We'd like to thank our partners, which are it.com. If you want to register a domain name, then it.com is a very interesting place to go to get that domain registered. Go and check it out, it.com, to put your brilliant ideas onto maybe £1 million website company. And wow, well, Jovanka, what have we got in store for us next?
Well, a lot of entertainment, a lot of action, and here are the pairings that we're going to see. Wesley So will face off against Andrew Tang. Meanwhile, in the lower bracket, Sam Shankland and Leinier Dominguez will be playing for their lives, and we'll find out everything and more tomorrow.
Yeah, another day of Armageddon. Loads of explosions on the board, loads of time pressure, loads of shaking hands, loads of sweating here, at least, just watching it. I need to calm down after that. And that was exciting. And that's what we're getting with the Armageddon series. Quick, fast, and exciting. Jovanka, did you enjoy that?
I absolutely did. Armageddon pushing the limits. So catch us tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow for more action.